Welcome back to another edition of the I Prefer the 80s and 90s podcast where I talk about why I prefer the sports of the 80s and 90s over today. This weekend in sports was probably the best weekend sport has had in a very, very long time. And yet, I still prefer the 80s and 90s sports over it. Because this weekend showed me a few things that I kind of surprised about, but not. The one thing that I talk about, and I talk around, and I don't say it out loud, and maybe I'll say it out loud today, is the one difference between the 80s and 90s era stars and today's stars. And that word is the clutch gene. So many performers today in sports don't possess the clutch gene. Now, what do you say? What is that? What is the clutch gene? Well, the clutch gene is the ability to perform under pressure when you need it to be clutch. In sports, being clutch means, let's say you're in a baseball game, it's 2 outs, runner on second base, you get the base hit, you get the run in. That's clutch. In golf, you make a putt. In tennis, you make a serve that you really need to make when you need to make it, and you win the point. Basketball, obviously, you make the basket. Some people say you make the pass to make the basket, if he makes the basket. But you make the basket, and that makes you clutch. That's what made Tiger what Tiger is into us, in the sense that Tiger won, 54 straight matches, golf tournaments, when he led after 3 rounds. That's clutch. You knew that once he got to the 4th round after leading up the 3rd round, he wasn't going to choke it away. And if he needed a putt to make, he made it. Michael, game on the line. He may not have made every shot, but he made a lot of them. Same thing with Larry, Magic. I mean, they made the shots when you needed them to be clutch. This weekend was a great weekend for sports and around the world. You had the World Cup, Women's World Cup final, where England was favored to beat Spain because England had just won the Women's World Cup World Championships in Europe. Spain supposedly has been in disarray because 4 of their players was in dispute with their coach, but somehow, some way, made it to the finals with guts, guile, and effort, and defeated England. Some people would say that England didn't have the clutch gene this weekend. But this woman, Carmona, did, by scoring the only goal in the game, and then later finding out that her dad passed away after the game. That's extraordinary. The MLS this weekend, they have this in-season tournaments, like all these sports nowadays are trying to do, have these in-season tournaments to try to drum up interest. And they had one, and Messi's team from Miami made it to the finals, I believe playing Nashville. And it was an epic shootout that determined the victor. 10-9 went to Messi's team, of course. Messi not only scored a goal early, but he set the tone by making the first free kick. And so he was clutch. He's clutch. And I find it funny how we are reacting to Messi here in America. And it's funny to me because if I was playing sports today, I'll put it to you like this. When I was a kid, we would go to other neighborhoods and play sports against them, whether it was basketball, baseball, and football. And if we won, they wanted to fight after the game, or someone would pick a fight with somebody after the game because they were humiliated. Or if we lost and they came into our neighborhood, we kind of felt the same way, like, get out of here or we're going to kick your butt. And I feel like everyone is so embracing of him, of Messi, that it bothers me because it's like, dude, this guy is 38 years old. He's recognized as one of the two best players in the world. People say he's the best. People say Ronaldo's better, whatever. Comes to our country, comes to our league, picks the worst team in the league, and basically says, I'm going to take the worst teams in the league and beat y'all to show y'all that y'all soccer here sucks or isn't up to par. But instead of that attitude, people are like, oh my God, Messi again. Oh my God, Messi. Oh my God, I gotta see Messi. Oh my God. And it's hilarious. I remember watching the AND1 videos, the AND1 mixtapes, and they would go into towns and play 5-on-5 against supposedly street ball legends from other towns and whoop them, and then the crowd would be like, oh, like they saw Jesus Christ walk the street. Sorry, Lord, didn't mean to put your name in vain there. But acted like it was the greatest, the funniest thing, instead of it being a demoralizing thing when a guy is dribbling and shaking you and making you fall down, putting his T-shirt over your head and clowning you type thing. That's what I attribute what Messi's doing to us. And now the season restarts. Miami's still in last place. If he takes Miami to the championship, that is the ultimate slap in the face. See, at least when Beckham came to America and played on the Galaxy, Galaxy had good players on that team, and they weren't bad. Or when Zlatan did that recently, he was on a good team. Or when Chicharito did the same thing, he was on a good team too. And I'm sorry to digress from my point about being clutch, but Messi and his team was clutch. But it just bothers me that he is come to our country and embarrassing us, and we like it. So, but who wasn't clutch this weekend? I've already said England wasn't clutch. How about Scotty Scheffler? Scotty Scheffler is number one ranked player in the world in golf. And usually when Scotty Scheffler gets on a roll, it's over. And at the BMW Championship in golf this weekend, he was leading the tournament, playing very well, had a par 5 coming up, was less than 30 yards from the hole on his third shot, and absolutely chunked it. And it was funny because Dottie Pepper, who is an analyst for CBS, she's like, the shot he should hit here is hit it onto the green and not try to run it up on the green because the ball will die. And all the other announcers were quiet. And then he hits the shot, and he didn't hit it on the green directly like Dottie said. Hit it short, and it died before it got to the green. And he basically had to make like a 14-foot putt for birdie, which he missed. And Hovland, who was on fire, who shot a 61 and shot the course record, goes on to win the tournament. Scotty Scheffler, this whole season, should have had at least 5 more wins. For some reason, putts within 5 to 7 feet have been befuddling him all year long. Because even after he parred that par 5, he had a chance to keep it going, at least still maintaining the lead. Then he bogeyed the 17th hole, which gave the tournament to Hovland. And had he parred that hole, he would have had a chance on 18 like Hovland did to birdie and tie. But he didn't get it done. So I don't know if he has the clutch gene. He had it last year. He had it 2 years ago when he came on the scene. It was last year when he came on the scene and was beating everybody. He's a major champion. Just this season, for some reason, he has not been clutch. Then we go over to tennis. Yesterday's tennis matches were stellar. Alcaraz and Djokovic. The match was outstanding. It was memorable. But it's funny because just before I thought Djokovic had a chance to win the match, um, up 5-4, up 5-3 even, but up 5-4, up 40-15. And I go directly to my computer and I was just about to type in Djokovic has figured out how to beat Alcaraz because Alcaraz is struggling with his backhand today and Djokovic keeps pounding his backhand. And just as I was about to type that, he starts hitting it to his forehand, and Alcaraz just starts ripping shots past him, forces a tiebreak, and then Djokovic comes back to win in the tiebreak. And I'm like, did that mean that did Djokovic choke? Djokovic don't choke. I mean, he eventually won, but that was kind of close to not having the clutch gene that he normally has. That's really weird. I mean, a lot of players this weekend in that tournament had Alcaraz on the ropes and couldn't knock him out. 2 matches he played. He played, I believe, all 4 of his matches that he played were all 3-set matches where he was losing and had a chance to lose in 2 sets in all of the matches. But he battled back. Hurkacz should have beaten him. Tommy Paul should have beaten him. And the Australian guy should have definitely beaten him. But Alcaraz has got that it, and he got it done. Well, yesterday I was like, oh my God. I literally had my fingers on the button. In fact, I started typing, Djokovic has the keys to beat Alcaraz, and then he choked away the last 2 games and then had to hold on to get to a tiebreak, and then he eventually won a tiebreak. And I'm like, oh my God. Djokovic doesn't have that it either for some reason. But he eventually won. Coco Gauff yesterday smoked Carolina Muchova. Muchova said she woke up in the morning and said, oh my God, I got to play Coco Gauff. So she already knew in her head she was going to lose after she had beaten Sabalenka, and which is a big deal, who's number 2 in the world. But Coco got it done. Coco is developing that clutch gene, and hopefully she will take it all the way to the U.S. Open. But this weekend was a good weekend for this generation of sports overall because we got to see sports played at a higher level with Hovland coming back from 4 shots down and shooting a 61 to win, and Djokovic eventually winning, Messi and his team winning, Spain playing their style of football and winning their first World Cup and becoming the second nation to be a World Cup champion in both men's and women's. It was a good weekend for sports. But it was a bad weekend for the New York Yankees. The Yankees stink. And that's what made me think about saying something about not having the clutch gene. A lot of baseball players get a lot of hype, a lot of money. But when it comes down to it, they don't get it done. I watch every Angel game. And I heard the other night the announcer say, Shohei Ohtani has 6 home runs in the 9th inning. And I'm thinking about all the 6 home runs he has in the 9th inning. And I can only think of one that was a game winner. And the other ones just was like garbage home runs. Or home runs that like either started a rally maybe or not. It's hard to have a clutch gene in baseball, but Derek Jeter obviously had the clutch gene for the Yankees. Keith Hernandez had a clutch gene for the Mets. George Brett had a clutch gene for the Royals. Tony Gwynn. Like, there's certain players that will do whatever it takes to get it done and get it done when it needs to be done. I mean, how more clutch can you be than Derek Jeter when your very last hit is a game-winning hit in a game at home? The Yankees right now have zero confidence. Their manager is hysterical. He has funny comments to say, but they got nobody right now to step up and be clutch. And that's what they need. Show life. And let's see what happens. What's his name? Max Verstappen, the Formula One racer. Every week, everyone's mad at him, wants to beat him. He's won 9 races in a row. Starting from the pole, starting from 3rd position, 4th position. The dude is clutch. But that's what this generation is lacking. They're lacking a lot of guys like him. Messi. So disappointed in Scottie Scheffler yesterday. Because they pretty much had given him the trophy. Because they knew Fitzpatrick wasn't going to keep up. And he didn't. But we move on to a new week. And hopefully this week someone will prove me wrong again and say this generation is clutch. Men's basketball team played Germany. Anthony Edwards, former number 1 draft pick, and I never heard of until he got in the NBA, showed that he's clutch, dropping 34 against Germany. Can he lead America to the championships over these next few weeks? Katie Ledecky, she's clutch. So I can name some clutch athletes, just not as many as I could in the 80s and 90s. But then again, what do I know?